Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Lost Society, If the Sky Came Down, out September 30th on Nuclear Blast. The album has 10 tracks, 42 minutes in length, and this the band's fifth full-length studio album. They are a Finnish heavy metal band. As far as the design goes, this album offers a roller coaster ride of energy, of intensity, of aggression, almost from the first to the last song, the exception being the last song. Suffocating is a very different track. It's a ballad, it's stripped down. The only thing that it has in common with the rest of the album is the intensity of the lyrics, the message, how organic it feels, how raw it comes across. So from that point of view, it connects well with the rest of the album, but sonically is completely different. So there is really no other place to put this track but at the end. You need to have the overall journey, you need to have the overall aggression, the roller coaster journey that this album is, taking you up and down, side to side. You really have to be putting through the blender so that you can really appreciate the beauty, the haunting nature of how this album closes it off. You never really expect this album to go in that direction, but you're really happy when you get there. So I enjoy this design. I really like how they put everything together. The album feels very collective. It thinks of the collective, not just of the individuality of the song. So really good construction all around. As far as the sound is concerned, this album has a lot of different influences, as you would come to expect from this new Lost Society. It has metalcore, it has new metal, it has groove metal, it has a little bit of everything. They're not afraid of going outside the box and bringing different influences in order to make the songs a little bit more robust, a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more fluid. If I had to pick one genre that perhaps influences this album a little bit more above all others, is definitely new metal. This album sounds new metal through and through, regardless of all the other influences, regardless of all the other changes. It's just something that it's there, it's undeniable. When you're listening to this album, you're going to think of bands like Linkin Park and Slipknot. You cannot walk away from it. That is the sound, that is the soundscape, that is the production that the record has, that is the overall experience that it offers. Now, inside this sound, there's two elements that I want to bring up. One is the guitars and the other one is the drums. I enjoy the drum sound on this record. I enjoy the thickness that it had. I enjoy the power that it gave. I enjoy the substance, the texture, the volume that stayed very consistent, always giving these sort of condiments to each and every single song, regardless of the aggression, regardless of the intensity, regardless of the starting point and the finish line for those specific tracks. This allowed the album to have that balance. This is a record that is super volatile, but there is some balance in that volatility. The drums are perhaps one of those balancing elements that felt very grounded, that helped ground and connect the record across all 10 different songs. The guitar sound is a guitar sound that I enjoy because it matches the soundscape, it matches the design, it matches that new metal approach, and because of that, you have to appreciate it for what it is, not for what it could be. If I was to say that the guitars could have been more heavier or more powerful or more driven, yeah, that is also true, but if the guitars have to sound the way the album comes across, then they fit the mold, and on this record they deliver exactly what they had to deliver. I enjoyed the solos. I felt like they added value to the songs. I felt like they added quality to the tracks. The melodies on the guitar sound was really interesting as well, because it allowed you to walk away a little bit from the heaviness. It allowed you to walk away a little bit from the aggression and intensity and infuse some groove, infuse some melodic elements that stretched out the songs, that allow you to better digest these songs and not necessarily feel like you're being put in through the blender, through the verses and through the chorus. So the songs on this album tend to be a little bit more aggressive in the verses, a little bit more melodic in the chorus. This gives each and every single song its own ebbs and flows, and then obviously each track has its own creation, its own design, its own influences. So it's a very dynamic album that depends a lot on that guitar sound in order for that dynamic sound to really come across and permeate throughout each and every single song. You may not feel like this is a guitar-driven album. I don't feel like it's a guitar-driven album, but the impact of the guitar sound and the experience that comes from that sound is undeniable for the overall big picture to come to life. Now, as far as the vocals are concerned, it's an album that moves all over the place, right? So sound-wise, it has a lot of influences. It has a lot of movement, even though new metal perhaps is the main core, or is the main root of where everything got started. So the vocals are not going to be any different. It would be impossible to create a record like this with this sort of volatility and then offer a one-size-fits-all approach vocally from the first to the last track. It would just feel out of place. It wouldn't work. So you're still going to get Sammy's style, you're still going to get Sammy's deliver, but you're going to get his full range, and you're going to get a little bit more of him on this record. I honestly feel like this is perhaps the first album where you get to see him raw, naked, unfiltered. Not just in terms of what he's delivering with his voice, but what his voice is doing within the songs and the impact that his voice has in the lyrical content, or the lyrical content, the impact that that offers to his vocal performance. The two go hand in hand. He's able to morph and change, using it sporadically, but always using it with a key goal of giving the most to each and every single track and not allowing himself to stay very linear across an entire record. So it's a very dynamic album, both musically and vocally, but I really enjoyed his performance because he gave me something different. He gave me a different piece of himself across each and every single song. All around, this is an album that doesn't really feel fresh. It has great sound, great design, great delivery. It offers exactly what you expect them to offer on this record based on the singles that they've released beforehand, but it's not an album that you can say that they've created a new sound or a new Lost Society sound. It feels like they went and they got something that had been done before and they did it in their own way, but not necessarily fully creating something that is theirs. And that's why I say this album doesn't feel fresh. It has a lot of aggression, it has a lot of intensity. Those are always been two trademarks of Lost Society, but in my opinion, those two trademarks are not enough to carry a record from start to finish. You need a little bit more. You need to infuse those influences, but start to morph them and create them into something that can become your own. So when you're listening to a record, you know that you're listening to a Lost Society album. This album loses a little bit of itself from that point of view. As far as my favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Braindead, a very Slipknot style track. I mean, I could say that bought a lot of songs on this record, but this one is definitely has a very Slipknot, a heavy Slipknot influence, I should say. From the guitar sound to the drums, you see it on both ends. Semi infuses his vocal performance, and he really brings a little bit of himself into this track, and it allows the song to feel raw, to feel powerful, to feel direct at times. The chorus is more popish. You have those DJ scratches, you have all of those new metal elements coming into the chorus, becoming a lot more noticeable in terms of how groovy, how bouncy it is, for lack of a better word, the chorus is, because the verses is all about the aggression, it's all about the heaviness, it's all about the intensity, bringing in the drums, heavy, bringing in the guitars, heavy. That is the dynamic of this track. It has a great solo that really adds quality to the overall construction, to the overall experience, so it feels very complete. And the solo was a little bit of a surprise, and I was surprised with how good it was for a song that I never really felt like it was going to get a solo that perhaps it deserved, but it does. So great track all around. Next you have Underneath, great drums, great guitars rolling together as one in unison, really compounding the sound, making you feel like the wall is very thick and it's closing in on you. A track that has a lot of aggression in the sound and in the vocals. It's undeniable. The level of aggression and intensity on this track is through the roof across every single element. The verses more direct, the chorus allows you to breathe a little bit, perhaps digest the song a little bit, but the drum and guitar combo, the combination of these two elements and how well they work with one another is phenomenal. Then when the guitars pop outside of that with some melodies, really infuses a little bit more life in the song. It adds more dimensions to the track, it adds more layers and definitely more texture. It's also a song that you actually get to hear quite a bit of bass coming through, and that adds grooviness to the overall design, into the overall experience. Last but not least, I have to talk about Suffocating. This is the closing track on the album, the ballad, a piano vocally driven ballad. It's phenomenal, it's haunting. It's really about how the vocals carry the track, but the vocals have to carry the track with something, and they carry it with emotion. This is a very raw, emotional track from start to finish, and you feel like it's getting built up into something bigger and bigger with every passing second, with every passing note. The song just moves along. It doesn't stay stagnant, it doesn't stay still, it adds something to it. That intensity, that organic value that you feel that this song offers just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger as the song progresses. You start feeling like the song has an introspective moment to it at the beginning, but then everything comes out at the end and you feel the full brunt of it. And this is why I say, while this song is very different from a soundscape perspective from the rest of the album, from a lyrical content and a vocal delivery, the intensity that it has, the aggression that exists within that intensity is something that matches the entire construction of this record. This is it, Lost Society, If the Sky Came Down, out September 30th on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.